Prince Andrew is in some pretty hot water now. Now, this is the Queen's third child. And before we get into this, let me just say the last video I made about me going into Facebook jail. You guys, I've got a lot of Zionists on my page and a lot of neocons. I don't know. They think that I probably speak for them. I don't know why. I don't know where these people come from. They think that I'm just some kind of conservative neocon type of thing. I'm an independent. I'm a populist nationalist independent. Most of my views are on the right, but I am in no way a Zionist. So they all got hissy, and they got a hissy fit, and they started all disliking my page. I think some of them actually chickened away and stopped and took back that dislike. But you guys assist me, so you guys need to like the page and share the page. You guys are the real patriots, okay? These are individuals. You feel sorry for them. Don't be mad at them. Feel sorry for them. They don't know the real world. They don't know what we know. They don't know that Israel was created by the globalists and the New World Order uh, uh, to wipe out the Middle East with conflict and war and disaster, just like in Iraq and Libya and Syria and all these places. Get rid of all these dictators, destabilize the region so that Israel can grow. That would assist the New World Order and it would make them money as well. They don't know that stuff. They're all idiots. Just ignore them. You guys like it and subscribe and share those videos, okay? But anyway, on to our story here. Prince Andrew is at the center of this Jeffrey Epstein scandal here. Now, he was a great friend of Jeffrey Epstein, and in fact, um, he actually resisted cutting all contacts with Jeffrey Epstein until very recently. But Virginia Roberts, this woman right here, who's now Virginia Ghislane, this is her with Prince Andrew, and she's accused Prince Andrew of raping her. Now, Jeffrey Epstein, allegedly, according to her, forced her to have sexual relations with Prince Andrew, and Prince Andrew happily acquiesced. And the fact that she was underage makes it rape. And for a time, that accusation was put under the rug, but it's actually being brought up now because there are new um, there are new unsealed documents which look to this. So what could be happening is that Prince Andrew, who is allegedly the Queen's favorite son, he could be put in jail, and the whole lid, which is covering up this wicked, evil lizard family, the royal family, their history of pedophilia. We're going to get into a little bit of that. All of this stuff is going to come out into the open. This Jeffrey Epstein thing could actually be the end of the royal family. And I think that would be a great thing, at least in Canada. I mean, England, you guys can do what you want. I understand that the royal family give you guys a lot of tourism and everything, but here in Canada, most people don't want them. That's just a fact. Most people haven't wanted the royal family in years now. The only people who are royalists in Canada are extremely old people in nursing homes with some cane, and they watched the Queen's coronation back a long time ago, and they have this thing for, and it's not Quebecers either. It's English Canadians. Quebecers can't, don't, they would kill the Queen if she came to Quebec and she was unguarded. But anyway, a defamation case from 2015 involving a woman who claims Jeffrey Epstein forced her to have sex with Prince Andrew is set to be unsealed. Virginia Roberts, who's now Virginia Ghislane, previously accused Epstein of recruiting her as a sex slave back in 2001 when she was just 17 years old. Roberts is one of more than 80 women to accuse financier and of the financier of sexual abuse and sexual trafficking. So he was charged last week with all of this. Now, Prince Andrew, even when Jeffrey Epstein was fingered as a predator, as a pedophile, he still hung around with him. Now, that could only be one of two things. I mean, he was very, very, very resistant to cut him off. He did end up cutting him off, but he resisted it. I mean, in Prince Andrew's mind, loyalty, even if it's loyalty to a pedophile, is a virtue. Um, Now, that could be one of two things. Either Prince Andrew is, in fact, a pedophile, as Virginia has accused him of being, and he's just trying to be loyal because he's afraid Jeffrey Epstein would would reveal that and say, yes, it's true, or there's some other dirt that Jeffrey Epstein has on Prince Andrew. Because you guys have to understand the relationship really began when Jeffrey helped out and assisted with the financial problems of Prince Andrew's uh, ex-wife, Fergie, Sarah Ferguson. Um, and this is the thing, we actually talked about in a previous video that Jeffrey Epstein may have actually been a Mossad agent, and his job was to blackmail as many powerful individuals as he could, and they would be blackmailed to do the bidding of Israel. And if they didn't do that, then Israel or this Mossad agent would reveal their bad behavior and they'd be ruined. So effectively, he was assigned by the Mossad to blackmail as many powerful people as possible so that they could be slaves to Israel. Now, maybe that's the reason why a lot of politicians who promise to be neutral when it comes to Israel and Palestine end up turning to jellyfish when they get into office, aka Donald Trump. Um, but and maybe that's also why Prince Andrew was hesitant to get rid of Jeffrey Epstein. Because once you get involved with people like this, once they get a hold of your money, once they get a hold of your finances, once they know everything about your finances and everything that you've bought and all this stuff, I mean, you are putty in their hands. Jeffrey Epstein, Jewish financer, once he gets a hold of your money, and if he indeed works for Mossad, which many have alleged, and many have seen as something that the Mossad has, that's the tactics. They've done this before. Mossad has done these tactics before. They have deliberately sent out, whether it's beautiful women or other people, they send them out and they don't kill them. They try to blackmail them and lure them into a place where they can become, controlled. And once they do that, that's what happens. So that's the problem with Prince Andrew. But I actually think that he may have done something with Virginia Roberts. I think so. And the reason I think so is because, the royal family has a history, a very dark history of pedophilia. And or I should say, people who have accused them of pedophilia. I mean, the amount of people who have accused members of the royal family of sexual misconduct is similar to Bill Clinton. And a case that nobody talks about because it's so dangerous, but I'm about to talk about, is an accusation by an Aboriginal residential school survivor here in Canada who says that the Queen abducted children. Now, this is a pretty unknown accusation, but a residential school survivor by the name of William Coombs was set to testify at a session of the International Tribunal into Crimes of Church and State against Humanity, which is really not a church which has any power to arrest. It's really just declaration. It's really just a treaty type of church, not an actual church, which not an actual not church, a court which can do anything. But he was set to testify against humanity humanity committed by Elizabeth II and her husband, but suddenly had a mysterious death. Um, and for those of you who don't know about the residential school system, it was a really, really evil time in Canadian history. This is when Native Americans, Aboriginal people were forced to go to Christian schools and they were to be, Christianized. And, people talk about Canada being such a Mary Poppins type of country. But the fact of the matter, and this is the thing that I can't stand about my fellow Canucks, because they like to prance around pretending like they're such goody two shoes and they're such Miss Perfects. But no, Canada has a very vicious and racist history itself. In fact, I would say Canada's history when it comes to natives is similar to South African apartheid. So don't give me this crap about Canada, some kind of Mary Poppins country, some kind of good goody goody, everybody drinking Tim Hortons coffee, everybody just having a good time, Ned Flanders type of country. Canada has been very vicious when it comes to natives and when it's come to people of Asian origin back during World War II. And what they used to do was they would get native children to go to Christian schools to Christianize them, European, make them all more European in their thinking, civilize them according to them. And a lot of children ended up getting kidnapped in these schools because, look at what the church is doing. Look at what these institutions, these are schools run by churches, which would kidnap children. And look at they do it even now. The children, look at all these priests that are being accused of rape and all this stuff, and a lot of children had vanished in these school systems. Nobody ever heard from them again. Nobody still ever heard from them again. And even now, the Canadian government is dragging its heels when it comes to investigating what's happened to a lot of these children. So they like to go around pretending like they're Mary Poppins, but even now, they're dragging their heels when it comes to what finding out what happened to these innocent children who probably were captured. I don't know what happened, but who were really unjustly treated by a bunch of disgusting, filthy, old men and women. But let's get back to this accusation. A residential school survivor by the name of William Coombs has spoken out about his experiences. Apart from witnessing and being the victim of multiple forms of abuse, he also remembers Queen Elizabeth paying a visit to his school in 1964. Here is the experience described in Coombs' own words, posted up by the International Tribunal into Crimes by Church and State. I am an interior Salish spirit dancer and I am 58 years old. I live in Vancouver, Canada. I'm a survivor of the Kamloops and Mission Indian residential schools, both run by the Roman Catholic Church. Well, there's a red flag right there. I suffered terrible tortures there at the hands, especially of Brother Murphy, who killed at least 2 children. I witnessed him throw a child off a 3-story balcony to her death. He put me on a rack and broke some of my bones in the Kamloops school basement after I tried running away. I also saw him and another priest burying a child in the school orchard one night. In October of 64, when I visited when I was 12 years old, I was an inmate at the Kamloops school and we were visited by the Queen and Prince Philip. I remember it was strange because they came by themselves, no big fanfare or nothing, but I recognized them, and the school principal told us it was the Queen, and we all got given new clothes and good food for the first time in months the day before she arrived. The day the Queen got to the school, I was part of a group of kids that went down on a picnic with her and her husband, and some of the priests down to a meadow near Dead Man's Creek. I remember it was weird because we all had to bend down and kiss her foot, a white laced boot. After a while, I saw the Queen leave the picnic with 10 children from the school. Those kids were never seen again. We never heard anything more about them and never met them again, even when we were older. They were all from around there, but they all vanished. The group that disappeared was 7 boys and 3 girls in age, from 6 to 14 years old. They were all from the smart group in class. Two of the boys were brothers, and they were Métis from Quesnel. Their last name was Arnus and Arnold. I don't remember the others, just an occasional first name like Cecilia, and there was an Edward. What happened was also witnessed by my friend George Adolph, who was 11 years old at the time, and a student there too, but he's dead now. Coombs was to have served as a sworn witness at the September 2011 session of the International Tribunal into Crimes of Church and State as to crimes of torture, genocide, and crimes against humanity by Elizabeth of Windsor and her consort Prince Philip in Canada in October of 64 at Kamloops, British Columbia. Below is a video of Coombs, the only one I could find, taken from this full video in that full video, you can find testimony from a survivor claiming that Indian